Coming in at number 10, we have the Chimbu Skeleton Tribe. One look at this tribe sends shivers down my spine, and if I saw them in the flesh, I would very much want to run away. It seems that the Chimbu tribe dress this way for special festivals, including the Mount Hagen Festival. The paint was originally designed to psychologically intimidate enemies, and also to present themselves as superhuman. The tribe live in a remote mountainous region of Papua New Guinea, and first made contact with the connected world in 1934. Although they do remain elusive, and to be honest, painted like that, I wouldn't want to run into them. I wouldn't want to mess with them. Coming in at number 9, we have the Asaro tribe. Have a look at the Asaro tribe. Usually, I wouldn't say you should ever judge people by the way they look, but when it comes to tribes, I would say, actually, if they look threatening, that's because they want to scare you. They want to scare you off, and maybe you should be scared off. What happens if you don't heed that warning? Do you really want to find out? The Asaro tribe are also known as the Asaro Mudmen because of their masks, which are made from mud. They're also hella spooky. The story behind the mud is that one time they approached an enemy after hiding out in a muddy bank. The enemy thought that they were spirits and fled. Coming in at number 8, we have the Chukchi people. The reason this tribe are on this list is because they are the only tribe in Russia that were never conquered by the Russian people, which actually must mean that they're pretty terrifying and hardcore. Historically, Russia has waged war with the Chukchi people on many occasions over hundreds of years. While some of the tribe's people were killed, they were never actually defeated. These days they live reasonably undisturbed in the Chukchi Peninsula. This is at the very north of Russia, parallel to the top of Alaska. It is cold up there. These people survive in those climates 24/7, and to be honest, to me, that makes them pretty hardcore and not to be crossed. A ghost at number 7, we have the Night Marchers. I really enjoy this, something different for this list. Often called the Night Marchers, the Hawakapo are ancient Hawaiian warriors that now are jobbed with escorting newly dead spirits into the afterlife. These are a more musical band of Grim Reapers. The Hawakapo are also known as torchbearers, and they walk across the land carrying, you guessed it, torches, but also weapons and drums which they play and chant. There have been sightings of these ghostly torchbearers, but if you ever come across one, you must not look them in the eye, as they may mistakenly class you as someone who needs to be marched into the afterlife. That is, unless one of your relatives is in the tribe who can vouch for you. It's rules. Those are the rules. You know that the Hawakapo are nearby if you hear distant drumming in Hawaii, if you hear conch shell horns, see faint torchlight, and smell faint foul odors. Rumours and reports of torchbearer sightings have been rife over the years and are absolutely ingrained in Hawaiian folklore. Unless you want to be marched down into heaven or hell or wherever they're going, I would say stay away from the tribe. Coming in at number 6, we have the Korubo or the Dasala tribe. The Korubo, also known as the Dasala tribe, are well known for their big clubs, as in big sticks. The Korubo are one of the most isolated tribes in the world, and they do not want to be contacted. The tribe are visually scary to look at. They paint themselves with red dye made from the ruco plant. The tribe lives in the western Amazon basin and regularly have clashes with other local tribes. They use their clubs to beat people to death. They're also fond of the humble poison dart. The tribe are hostile to outsiders, and in recent history they have beat to death 3 loggers and workers from Funai, a Brazilian government initiative to protect indigenous tribes. Coming into number 5, we have the Surma tribe. The Surma live in the Bench Magi zone of the southern nations, nationalities and peoples regions of Ethiopia. The tribe are particularly scary and dangerous, especially if you're an outsider like us, because instead of clubs, spears or darts, the bands have automatic guns. Yikes. Guns aside for the moment, the tribe do have a tradition of beating one another with sticks as a rite of passage before they can officially become a man, so as you can gather, the Surma don't shy away from violence. While the Surma do have guns and are hostile to outsiders, there aren't actually any reported incidents of them shooting anyone, so I guess while things may seem barbaric to us, who are we to judge them? They probably just want to do their own tribe business and let us leave them alone. Coming in at number 4, we have the Angori sect. The Angori sect are infamous for their morbid worship practices. Now, they use a corpse during their rituals, and they often threaten to eat people. Have a watch of a CNN reporter interacting with them. Honestly, this freaked me out. Can you imagine being in this situation?
On that side of the river are so afraid of the Agori.
That That's right, he actually said that I'd be terrified. The reporter then starts asking questions which are not met with a happy response. Have a listen.
Why do
Wow! I absolutely think I'd be bricking it. The sect are very secretive and they generally shy away from interactions with others, and honestly, that's enough to make me want to stay away from them. Okay, next up, not 100% a tribe, but like a terrifying story and a terrifying jungle gang in Papua New Guinea. At number 3, we have the cargo cult. This is such a scary story. The story starts with Stephen Tarry, a man who gathered thousands of disciples in Papua New Guinea. He lured them into the jungle and encouraged them to be part of his sect. The man wore white robes and preached his own gospel while standing on a rock and calling himself, and I quote, Black Jesus. The cult lived in the jungle much like a tribe, and Tari was their leader. He would regularly lead ritual human sacrifice, which is repugnant. On one occasion, he slaughtered a virgin he called his flower girl and encouraged his following to drink her blood. One mother testified that she was made to drink her own daughter's blood. Now it seems that the tribe-like cult turned against him, and actually the leader was murdered himself in 2013. I guess he got what was coming to him. Okay, at number 2, I've put a tribe you've probably heard of. I'm saving one at number 1 that you might not have heard of. Getting a lot of press, we have the Sentinelese tribe. So you may have heard of this tribe in regards to the recent murder of John Allen Chow. He was a 26-year-old American missionary who was sent by the All Nations group to make contact and live with amongst the tribe. Basically, they were hoping to convert them to Christianity, which really wasn't a good idea because they killed him. This is the theme with people who come too close to this tribe. Now the North Centennial Island is amid the Indian Ocean and has been home to the tribe for around 60,000 years. Until recently, the tribe has only been spotted through far-off images. But people keep getting closer and closer to them these days, and they don't like it. They've been known to fire arrows at low-flying planes. It's hard to contact a tribe who have literally no interest in communication, but most of those who have tried just haven't lived to tell the tale. Some have met their fury by accident. For example, in 2006, 2 fishermen who were illegally harvesting crabs were killed by the tribe. Now Chow, the missionary, is the most recent victim. He kept a journal of his attempts to contact the tribe, and he sang songs and offered them the Bible, but actually, instead, they shot and pierced the holy book with an arrow. I think this should have been a warning to him, but he persisted to no avail and was met with a mixture of laughter and hostility. In the end, it all got too much for the tribe, who decided to kill him. He was last seen by the crew who went with him on the adventure. He was dragged away. They said they saw him dragged away and killed, and they saw his lifeless body spotted on the shore. Gnarly. Finally, coming into number 1, we have the Korowai tribe. The Korowai tribe are one of the most feared tribes in the world. They were only discovered in 1974, and since then, encounters have been very limited. The tribe are based in Papua New Guinea, and they are known to live in trees as to have a height advantage when intruders come into their space. They are known to shoot arrows at any trespassers, and they believe that white people are actually possessed by ghosts or demons, so obviously as a white person wandering into this tribe, you can imagine what might happen to you. It is actually thought that the Korowai tribe killed Michael Rockefeller, who disappeared after attempting contact in the 1960s. Some reports say that his body was seen amid the tribe on a beach. Now, in 2014, Australian journalist Paul Raphael visited the tribe and discovered that they do still very much eat people. That's right, they cannibalize the body of people who die under mysterious circumstances. Why? Because they think that they've been possessed by a kakua. A kakua basically is a bad spirit. The logic is they must eat the kakua as the kakua ate the person who died. It's an act of revenge. Everything is eaten by the tribe except the hair, nails, and penis. Do you want to stumble across this tribe? Rather you than me.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Toromona. The Toromona are a group of people who are indigenous to Bolivia, and they live near the upper Madidi River, which is a part of the Amazon basin, and the Heath River in the northwestern area of Bolivia. There hasn't been any notable contact with this tribe aside from other indigenous tribes, but this tribe was talked about a lot when a Norwegian biologist searched specifically specifically for this tribe for many years before he mysteriously disappeared in the region of the Madidi Park in 1997. This tribe has remained quite isolated, and the most recent known sighting in the 21st century was when the Arona people of Bolivia informed an anthropologist named Michael Brohan that they had contacted a group that was in voluntary isolation on the eastern bank of the Marini River. It wasn't confirmed that this was the Toromona tribe, but it is believed that that's who they saw. Thankfully, in 2006, Bolivia's administrative resolution created an exclusive, reserved, and untouchable portion of the Madidi National Park in order to protect the Toromona and their desires to be uncontacted. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Kawahiva. The Kawahiva peoples used to be referred to as the Rio Pardo Indians, and they are an uncontacted tribe that resides in Mato Grosso, Brazil. This group is definitely nomadic people, and so most of what we know about them comes from the things they leave behind when moving to a new place, such as arrows, baskets, hammocks, and their communal houses. It is unclear exactly when the Kawahiva people became a tribe, as our knowledge of their modern existence began in 1999, but it is believed that this group goes as far back as the 1700s. As I mentioned before, they live in communal houses and they use a primitive form of a spinning wheel in order to make string, and they use tree bark to make nets. It is very rare for a non-indigenous group to have a sighting of the Kawahiva, and neighboring tribes refer to them as either tiny people or redheads. It is believed that loggers in the area have intentionally tried to keep the Kawahiva on the run, and it is speculated by the human rights group Survival International that the women of the tribe have stopped giving birth. It is unclear exactly how many Kawahiva people there are left, but it is estimated to be around 4 separate Kawahiva bands, with maybe around 15 people in each band. Like many of the tribes on today's list, their existence is always threatened by deforestation, illegal logging, and just attempts to either kill or enslave them. In 2001, the tribe's land was put under local protection, but that protection was periodically removed by the courts before being later reinstated. And in 2012, the land was turned into an official reservation. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Caraballo. The Caraballo are a group of uncontacted people who live in the Rio Pure National Park in the southeastern corner of Colombia. The Caraballo live in at least 3 longhouses, which are usually narrow, single-room houses. They share this national park with both the Pasay and the Jumana peoples. In the last 400 years, there has been outsider contact with the Caraballo people, but not much, as the contact usually involves violent attacks by slave traders and rubber extractors, which has only increased their desire for isolation, which makes a lot of sense. It is believed that these people may refer to themselves as the Yakumo, and there truly isn't much that is known about them, which honestly is probably a good thing. In December of 2001, the president, Juan Manuel Santos, signed Legal Decree number 4633, which was designed to guarantee uncontacted peoples rights to their voluntary isolation, their traditional territories, and even reparations if they face violence from outsiders, which really is such a great thing. While this decree alone, of course, isn't going to stop some people from illegal contact, it is nice to see that steps are being made to protect these people. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Namole, or the Namol. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this one. The Namole people are an indigenous tribe of nomadic hunter-gatherers who inhabit the remote regions of a national park in Peru, which is part of the Amazon rainforest. They are more commonly referred to as the Mashco Piro peoples, but that name was first used in 1687 to refer to those who are native to Peru, but it's actually considered a derogatory term considering the word Mashco means savages. In 1998, there was estimated to be around 100 to 250 members of this tribe, which was a welcomed increase from the 1976 estimate of somewhere from 20 to 100. The Namale peoples have actively avoided any contact with non-indigenous people, and truly, who could blame them? In 1894, most of this tribe was slaughtered by the private army of Carlos Fitzgerald, who was a rubber baron. Those who survived this attack retreated to the most remote forest areas where they could be safe. In the 21st century, there's been an increase in the sightings of people from this tribe, but they certainly still are not actively seeking any contact with the outside world. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Dalala. The Dalala are an indigenous people of Brazil living in the lower Vale do Javari in the western Amazon basin. These peoples are split into 2 groups, one splinter group led by a woman named Maya that is around 23 people, while the larger main group is around 150 people. The split between the groups came from a dispute between around 20 members, and while the larger group remains quite isolated, the smaller group has had some infrequent contact with neighboring settlements. The hunting and war weapon of choice of this tribe is the club, but they are also known to use poison darts. Both the men and women of this tribe paint themselves with red dye that is made from plants. There is little that is known about the religious or spiritual practices, but it is known that they live in communal huts, which is something that is different from many of the uncontacted tribes on today's list. This tribe is more often referred to as the Korubo people, but apparently this name was given to them by a former enemy tribe and is said to be negative and degrading, which is why we will be referring to them by the less common name of Dalala. This tribe's biggest struggle in terms of illness and death at the moment seems to be malaria. This tribe has a long history with the massacres of indigenous peoples, so it makes sense that they want to remain isolated and have not welcomed outside contact very much since the 1950s. In 1996 there began expeditions to try and make peaceful contact, but the Dalala are known to kill trespassers on their land, which we truly cannot blame them for, and the most recent incident of this nature came in 2000 when 3 lumbermen were killed near the native reservation. It definitely serves as a reminder to leave people who don't want to be contacted alone. If they want our influence, they know where to find us. In our number 5 spot today we have the Aoreo. The Aoreo people are the indigenous people of Gran Chaco, and they live in both Bolivia as well as Paraguay. There are approximately 5,600 Aoreo peoples, and while many of them ended up becoming sedentarized by missionaries in the 20th century, there are around 100 people who have still maintained the traditional nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle and remain uncontacted. The Aoreo were first contacted by Jesuits in the 1720s to try and convert people to Catholicism, and in the 1740s the mission was abandoned and the Aoreo were luckily left alone. Until the 1900s. The Chaco War between Bolivia and Paraguay brought in 100,000 troops to the territory as well as all of the diseases they carried. Both countries saw the Aoreo as a problem, and from the 1940s to the 1970s there was a rule where a Paraguayan soldier could be freed from service by killing one of them. At this time Aoreo children were also being stolen, and one 12-year-old was even put on display in an exhibit. In the 1940s and 50s the work of missionaries continued, and in the late 50s missionaries used force and manipulation to remove the Aoreo from their land to various mission stations, and the land where they once lived was sold for cattle farming. These mission stations forced the Aoreo living in them to give up their culture, including their religion, appearance, music, and diet, and missionaries sometimes convinced the Aoreo living at the missions to find uncontacted Aoreo in the forest to sedentarize and convert them. And in December of 1986 that unsurprisingly turned out to be a horrible idea that led to 5 deaths. The Aoreo people who are in contact now are struggling with both poverty as well as discrimination, and the uncontacted Aoreo have 6 main threats, which are cattle farming and deforestation, sale and allocation of their territory, searches for oil, missionaries seeking contact, illegal collection of territory resources, and violation of territory by various groups. I could dive into each of these points and discuss why they are such a threat to these people, but I'll leave that for your homework because we have got to keep this list moving right along. In our number 4 spot today we have the Tagari. The Tagari are an eastern Huaorani people living in the Ecuadorian Amazon basin. This group was once a part of the Huaori families, but they separated off in 1968 after refusing missionary settlement, and since then have lived in isolation. Their name comes from one of their members' tag. There haven't been many interactions since then with other Huaorani, but the interactions that have happened are often met with violence. It is estimated that there are around 20 to 30 surviving Tagari, and they are one of the 2 remaining indigenous groups living in voluntary isolation in Ecuador. These people are semi-nomadic and live off hunting and gathering as well as a few crops. Since 2007 there has been a national policy to try and help protect them that includes untouchability, self-determination, equality, and no contact. The threats to the Tagari include illegal loggers of tropical hardwood, foreign disease, smugglers, settlers, and oil companies moving into the area with drilling taking place all over their land. In 2008 investigations began into reports that 5 Tagari people had been killed by illegal loggers. As we get closer to the end of our list it becomes abundantly clear that many of these isolated tribes face extremely similar threats, which is quite interesting and unfortunately extremely unsurprising. In our number 3 spot today we have the Taromanane. Remember in the last point about the Tagari, how I mentioned that they were one of the last 2 uncontacted tribes in Ecuador? Well, this is the other one. These people live in the Yasuni National Park in the Ecuadorian Amazon basin, and this tribe also has some distant relations to the Huayurani people. There's estimated to be around 150 to 300 people in this tribe who maintain their nomadic lifestyle in the rainforest. While, like everyone else on their list, 2 of their main threats are oil developments and illegal loggers, the Taromanane have another, more unexpected threat, and that is the Huayurani. In 2013, more than 20 of these people were killed by the Huayurani, which left 2 child survivors who were taken as hostages. Apparently the people who took part in this terrible tragedy bragged about it on national television at first, calling themselves brave for attacking and taking the lives of unarmed people with rifles, pistols, and long spears, and even went as far as selling photos of it to the highest bidder. There's so much to cover in regards to this one incident that I unfortunately don't have time for, but the whole situation is extremely tragic and just downright horrible. Much of these disputes stem from the land that they share because of the fact that the Taromanane have been pushed deeper into the forest from the Huayurani, allowing oil companies to drill on the land. It of course is a very complicated issue that has so much more to it. In our number 2 spot today we have the Awa, are a group of people living in the eastern Amazon rainforest. There are around 350 living members, but not all of them remain uncontacted. Out of the 350, it is believed that around 100 members continue to try to remain uncontacted, although it unfortunately hasn't been as easy as it should for them. The Awa were once settled people but began to live a more nomadic lifestyle around the 1800s in order to try and escape incursions by Europeans. They were further threatened by settlers who cleared out most of the forests on their land. In 1982, the Brazilian government received a loan of $900 million from the World Bank and the European Union, but under a condition that the lands of certain indigenous peoples, including the Awa, be protected. This should have been the key to helping protect these peoples, considering their lives were continually being threatened. There were many cases of tribespeople being killed by settlers, and the forest on which they depended was being destroyed by logging and land clearance for farming. Unfortunately, it took the government over 20 years to actually act on this condition, and finally in March of 2003 the Awa's land was finally distinguished. And to make matters a little worse for these peoples, there are always people who won't respect their land no matter what laws are in place. In late 2011, illegal loggers burned an 8-year-old Awa girl alive after she wandered out of her village, and a leader from another group of people said that the girl had been killed as a warning to other native peoples living in the protected area. According to the human rights organization that campaigns for the rights of indigenous tribal peoples, Survival International, the Awa are the Earth's most threatened tribe. The Awa forests are still disappearing faster than any other area in the Brazilian Amazon, and loggers still remain as their biggest threat. No industry or amount of money is worth these people's lives and their way of life, and serious action to protect them needs to be taken before it's too late. In our number 1 spot today we have the Man of the Hole. This one is quite different from the others on this list because not only is this only one man, but we don't actually know the name of the tribe that he belongs to. It is believed that he may be the last known survivor of his people, who were probably all killed by cattle ranchers, which is absolutely devastating. Because of the fact that we do not know his name, what tribe he belongs to, or even what language he speaks, his nickname, the Man of the Hole, comes from the large holes he digs, which are created to trap animals as well as a place for him to hide, but it is also believed that these holes may have had a spiritual significance to the tribe that he belongs to. His isolated existence first became known in 1996, and it is believed that the other members of his tribe were killed in a number of clashes between the 1980s and the 1990s. One expert explains that, quote, "He should not be seen as a recluse hiding from society. The man is the survivor of genocide. He didn't choose to live alone." He lives in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, and in 2007 the Brazilian government declared that the 31 square mile area around him would be off limits to trespassing and development, and an additional 11.5 square miles was later added to that. He is often monitored from afar in order to prevent any unwelcome guests from entering his land, but despite these attempts, he was still attacked by gunmen in 2009 and thankfully managed to survive like the warrior that he absolutely is. He maintains avoiding contact with others, although he does know that he is being monitored. The Brazilian government's protection agency, FUNAI, will periodically leave him gifts of tools and seeds, and he will sometimes signal to observing teams so as to warn them of the holes he dug, so it seems as though there's some sort of trust that has been built there, which really is a nice thing to hear. In 2018, the FUNAI released a video of him with the intention of raising global awareness of the threats that face the uncontacted peoples in Brazil, and he appeared as though he may be somewhere in his 50s, but seemed in very good health.
Coming in at number 10, we have Bruce Parry. Bruce Parry is a British presenter and documentary maker, as well as a former Marine, an explorer, an indigenous rights advocate, and author. Parry fronted a BBC series called Tribe, in which he met a load of remote tribes in Africa, Papua New Guinea, the Amazon, and Polynesia. Generally, Parry's policy was to leave the isolated tribes alone for fear of introducing illness to them. In the series, he finds lost tribes and convorts with cannibals. Here's a clip of Bruce and the crew, fitting in with the locals.
It could finally open the last barrier between us and them, from their point of view. And Bruce is hung like a brontosaurus, so they couldn't find one to fit him.
What is that about? I do not understand that apparatus. Coming in at number 9, we have the New Tribes Mission. The New Tribes Mission were a fundamentalist group of missionaries now known as Ephanos 360. It is likely they changed their name due to the bad press their previous one had attracted. In the 1980s, the New Tribes Mission decided that they wanted to convert Amazonian tribes to Christianity, as they took it upon themselves to decide that they were living in the dark. They made first contact with the Zoe tribe of Brazil. First they dropped gifts over the village, and by 1987 they made first real contact. Sadly, like with a lot of first contact experiences, they brought disease with them, and 45 members of the tribe died from flu or malaria transmitted to them from the Protestants. The ill health spread further, and the missionaries hadn't the supplies to help them. In the end, the government expelled the missionaries in 1991, and since then the health of the Zoe have been improving. Coming into number 8, we have the Russian doctors. It seems that Russian physicians were the first to establish contact with the Surma tribe of Ethiopia in the 1980s. The Surma women have since been photographed and are known to wear huge lip plates made out of clay, with the size increased each year. The bigger the plate, the more beautiful the woman is in their culture. It seems that the Russians gave the Surma people Kalashnikov rifles. While they have shunned other areas of outside culture and civilization, apparently they did like the guns for protecting their cattle against predators. Next up, something that Scott Wallace talks about extensively on his website, we have the miners who murdered at number 4. Illegal mining has become a problem along the Amazon rivers in Brazil, as the practice is massively disturbing indigenous tribes as well as weakening the land. It seems miners were overheard in a bar boasting about how they met an uncontacted tribe for the first time and massacred them. The miners were drinking at a frontier town and bragged about killing quote-unquote wild Indians. When some of the miners were apprehended, it seems that clay pots and paddles likely made by the tribe were found in their possession. As the tribe they allegedly killed are uncontactable and a 12-hour boat trip away, it is unknown whether or not their drunk boasts about the encounter are true. Coming into number 3, we have Michael Rockefeller. You have likely heard of the Rockefeller dynasty. The Rockefeller Center in New York is an enduring reminder of one of America's richest families. Michael Rockefeller was the son of Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller, an oil heir, the 49th governor of New York, and eventually the 41st vice president of the United States. In 1961, 23-year-old Michael went on a trip to Asmat, New Guinea, with the intention of finding some of the lost tribes and collecting indigenous art. Rockefeller wrote to his family to say that he found the country wild and remote and exciting. Michael's boat capsized near Otsnajep, and it was widely suspected that he was killed by a small tribe and likely cannibalized. This is a very sad tale. Up next at number 2, we have Bishop Alejandro Lavaca and Sister Inez Arango. The two Catholic missionaries, a bishop and a nun, were making first contact with the Warani tribe and the Orcas tribe. They were hoping to convert them all to Christianity. Tale as old as time, isn't it? Here's the picture of the bishop and the sister amid their mission. Before they met with the tribe in 1987, they dropped them gifts to try and gain their friendship. Sadly for the missionaries, it simply didn't work. The Spanish bishop and Colombian nun were brutally murdered by the tribe in a sacrificial way. When the bishop's body was found, it contained 67 spear wounds. The pair had been nailed to the ground and their wounds were filled with leaves to stop the blood. Finally, coming into number 1, we have John Allen Chau. The North Centennial Island amid the Indian Ocean has been home to an uncontactable indigenous tribe for 60,000 years, the Centennialese. They do not want any interference from the outside world, and until recently, the tribe has been spotted only through far-off images. Those unfortunate enough to get close to them have been attacked and often killed. The tribe have also been known to fire arrows at low-flying planes. It's hard to contact a tribe who literally have no interest in communication. In 2006, 2 fishermen who were illegally harvesting crabs were killed by the tribe, but in 2018, John Allen Chau, a 26-year-old American missionary, was sent by the All Nations group to make contact and live among the tribe, hoping once again to convert them to Christianity. He kept a journal of his attempts to spread the word of Jesus. He said he sang songs and offered the Bible to the tribe, which shot at and pierced the Bible with an arrow. He persisted to no avail and was met with a mixture of laughter and hostility. It was last reported by the crew who went with him that he was dragged away and killed. His body was spotted lifeless on the shore.